This video explains the many reasons why the abominable Rajput General Bipin Rawat of India was assassinated via a helicopter crash. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In my video of December 13, 2021, titled Update on the Assassination of General Rawat of India by Bringing Down His Helicopter, I explained that General Bipin Rawat, the topmost Indian military officer, was assassinated by the US military because the Indian military was very close to carrying out its nefarious plan to kill all Sikh military officers and soldiers in all the military services. The evidence that such a plan was hatched is that Sikh soldiers and officers in Sikh regiments were transferred to other units, replaced by officers and soldiers from other ethnic groups. The purpose was to thinly disperse Sikh soldiers and officers throughout the armed services so that it would be easy to isolate and disarm them and to kill them all without warning. The task of dispersing them by and large has already been accomplished. It seems the Indian military was ready to act within days on its nefarious plan. Therefore, it was necessary to act swiftly and take preemptive action by assassinating General Rawat in a helicopter crash. However, there were many other reasons why part of the US military allied with the Sikhs wanted General Rawat dead. General Rawat was a controversial figure. It's generally accepted that he was a political appointee of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, having superseded two other senior generals in his appointment as army chief in December 2016. Being a Rajput, he was allied with the Germans along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, among others. Then, when he neared retirement, a new highest military post, Chief of the Defense Staff, was created to provide a one point of military contact for the government and to coordinate the operations of all the military services. Rawat was appointed the first chief of the defense staff on January 1, 2020, at which post he served till his death on December 8, 2021. Creating the new post is a strong indication that Modi and the Indian national leadership had some serious plans for which General Rawat was essential. These serious plans concerned war and use of the army to control the likely violence within the country that would result from enactment of new laws and policies that the Modi government planned to oppress certain minorities within the country, including committing genocide on the Sikhs. Indian military is a professional military, and the accepted protocol is that men in uniform avoid meeting political party leaders. In addition, they do not comment on political issues. General Rawat violated both norms. For example, he met the chief of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, on the RSS, which is a right wing Hindu religious paramilitary organization loosely affiliated with Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, or the BJP. He met the RSS chief at its headquarters in Nagpur, India, in full uniform. Modi himself belonged to the RSS in his younger days. Rawat dismissed any criticism by saying that he was just paying respect to his elders. In the year following this incident, in December 2019, with threatening gestures, menacingly shaking his finger, he criticized opposition party leaders, which was aimed primarily at the main opposition party, the Congress, for leading mass protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act, or the CAA, and encouraging arson and violence. Senior Congress party leader P. Chidambaram retorted in response to Rawat's criticism. Political leaders will do what political leaders have to do. Let General Rawat not tell us what to do, just as we do not tell generals how to fight a war. So, what were the changes in domestic laws and policies planned by the Modi government that it knew would cause mass protests, which would then be suppressed brutally using the military, killing many minorities? General Rawat was appointed CDS, means Chief of the Defense Staff, to commit these genocidal acts using the Indian military. First, the Citizenship Amendment Act, or the CAA, was passed by the Government of India on December 12, 2019. It amended the Indian Citizenship Act to accept illegal migrants who are Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Parsi, Buddhist, and Christian, but did not mention refugees who were either Muslims or the Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar and Sri Lanka Tamils or Tibetans. And a national register of citizens was also proposed to keep an official register of all legal citizens of India. Passage of the act immediately led to widespread protests nationally and overseas. That is why General Rawat made his menacing gestures and comments against the protests, which as a military man he should never have done. The protests continued to the end of February, but eventually petered out as several states declared that they would not implement the CAA. General Rawat did not get the opportunity he had hoped for in killing many Muslims in India who were the main protesters. Secondly, in August 2020, Articles 370 and 35A that granted special status to Jammu and Kashmir state in India were repealed. Communications to Kashmir were cut off for months, and thousands of extra Indian security forces were deployed to suppress the resulting protests and violence. Rawat at one time had made menacing remarks about clashes between Kashmiri civilians and Indian security forces. He had said, "I wish these Kashmiri people were firing weapons at us instead of throwing stones. Then I could do what I and the rest of the party left unsaid." It does not leave much to the imagination what General Rawat had in mind about use of the military to deal with Kashmiri protesters. The Indian government effectively shut down any protests quickly by cutting off communications in Kashmir and with the outside world. Modi and Rawat's plan to massacre Kashmiri Muslims in the hope for mass protests did not materialize. And thirdly, on September 27, 2020, three farm bills became law in India. Since nearly 60% of the Sikhs and persons living in Punjab, Haryana, and western Uttar Pradesh states in India derive their livelihood from agriculture, Modi government passed the farm bills in order to control the purchase, storage, and marketing of food grains. The ultimate purpose was to take control of the grain trade out of the hands of Punjabis and give it to Modi's cronies Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani from his Gujarat state, who would cause farmers to be heavily indebted so that their lands could then be taken away from them. An agitation to repeal the farm bills was launched in November 2020, about a little more than a month after the bills were passed. This is exactly what the Modi government hoped for, because Sikh farmers were at the forefront of the agitation, and the protests would give the Modi government a pretext to use the military to murder perhaps hundreds of thousands of Sikhs and other farmers. The resulting violence would be used as further pretext to use the military by General Bipin Rawat to commit genocide on the Sikhs. In fact, the Modi government was on the verge of carrying out its massacre plans on the Sikhs, but we warned the government that if any protesting Sikh farmers were killed, we would kill that many and more Baniyas and Rajputs living in Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh states. We let them know that we would not hesitate in the least in killing millions of Baniyas and Rajputs. The government shelved its plans to carry out the massacre. Since the Modi government derives a great deal of support from the farm states which are affected by these bills, and elections are due within months, Modi decided to repeal the farm bills. About 700 farmers lost their lives during the agitation. The government also agreed to pay compensation for those who lost their lives, uh, but after the farmers ended their protests, apparently reneged on that promise, stating that no farmers died in the protests, when clearly 700 persons died because of the weather or other related causes. In the opinion of most analysts, a repeal of the farm bills is a ploy to win elections. After the election, Narendra Modi will go back to his old ways. Here is a warning to Modi and the other Indians allied with the Germans. In case any massacre of Sikhs is carried out, we will exercise the option to kill millions of Baniyas, Rajputs, and others allied with the Germans who live in our midst, in our states. Since all these attempts to murder Sikhs were foiled, then as already stated, General Rawat came up with the plan to murder all Sikh officers and soldiers in military uniform by first thinly dispersing all 50 to 60,000 of them throughout the military services, among more than 1.36 million strong. That's the strength of all the military services, and then clandestinely murdering them without warning. Hopefully, the assassination of General Rawat sends a strong warning that we can kill top Indian political, military, and business leaders anywhere in India and kill millions of Baniyas, Rajputs, and others allied with the Germans who live among us, and the Modi government will not. As a result, the Modi government will not carry out such plans to massacre all Punjabi Sikhs in military uniform. Now, besides these provocations, General Bipin Rawat's treacherous dealing with the US military was another major reason why he was assassinated. The United States considers India an ally in its fight against China. That's why both countries are part of the four-nation quadrilateral security dialogue known as the Quad, which includes Japan and Australia in addition to the US and India. The purpose of this alliance is to contain China so that it does not become the sole Asian superpower. Seemingly close relations between the US and India's trust in Bipin Rawat can be gauged from the fact that on April 4, 2019, General Rawat was inducted into the US Army Command and General Staff College Hall of Fame. However, the US had assessed that General Rawat could not be trusted because of the statements he has made concerning China, or the statements he has not made concerning China. After the Galwan Valley clash in May 2020, in which 20 Indian soldiers lost their lives, the Indian military under the leadership of General Rawat conceded more land to the Chinese. Though India wins skirmishes against China, China ends up occupying more Indian territory along the border. The same had taken place after the Doklam Plateau standoff in 2017, when by November 2020 China had set up a village 2 kilometers from the border within Bhutan territory. Then China built villages along the line of actual control in Arunachal Pradesh state in India. MoneyControl.com reported on November 18, 2021 that China has constructed a second cluster or enclave of at least 60 buildings in Arunachal Pradesh, reported NDTV, that is New Delhi TV, citing new satellite images. According to the images, the new cluster did not exist in 2019. However, after more than a year, new enclave is visible. The new encroachment by China lies 93 kilometers east of a China-constructed village in Arunachal Pradesh, which has also been confirmed in a Pentagon report just days ago. India acknowledged the Pentagon report, stating that China has tried to appropriate parts of Indian territory. The MoneyControl.com report stated that Arunachal Pradesh's BJP MP, that is Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party member of parliament, Tapir Gao, had raised his concern on the issue in the parliament in 2019. He said, I want to tell media houses in the country, that is in India, that there is no coverage of the extent to which China has captured Indian territory in Arunachal Pradesh. He said in the Lok Sabha, which is India's lower house of parliament, adding, if there is another Doklam, it will be in Arunachal Pradesh. That simply means that what happened in Doklam is that there were skirmishes, and then China basically ended up occupying more Indian land. And what was General Bipin Rawat's reaction to these Chinese encroachments? More denials, apologies on behalf of China, and statements to the effect that China had done nothing wrong. Economic Times reported that General Bipin Rawat said that the Chinese side has been building villages along the line of actual control, but said that no such village has come up on the Indian side of the border. He said that the PLA, that is the People's Liberation Army of China, has been upgrading existing infrastructure on the LAC, and that old dilapidated huts are being replaced with modern living units, perhaps to house the families of Chinese troops who are missing. These denials and always apologizing on behalf of China when it occupied more Indian territory gave the United States a clear signal that General Rawat cannot be trusted, and that he was working in China's interests and against India and the US interests. The US is of course aware of the attempts of China and Germany to start a world war to take on the United States. They are planning to use the Afghanistan's Taliban government, which is now allied with Germany and China, to attack and annex Kashmir and then conquer Punjab and destroy the Sikhs. That would likely trigger a world war, as part of the US Army would intervene on behalf of the Sikhs and Punjabis. Modi and Rawat wanted to turn the Kashmiris and Indian part of Kashmir into deadly enemies of India. The repeal of Articles 370 and 35A was designed for that purpose, though the hoped for mass protests and mass killing of Kashmiris did not materialize, which would have further antagonized the Kashmiris. But the repeal has had the hoped for effect, so that the Kashmiri Muslims are antagonized against the rest of India. The purpose behind General Rawat's plans in Kashmir could not be mistaken. Therefore, the United States took the decision that General Rawat had to be eliminated for his treacherous and murderous dealings to teach people like him and other Indians a lesson. The farm bills and dispersal of Sikh officers and soldiers thinly throughout India's military services with the goal of killing them all was the last straw, and gave the United States military an opportunity to take immediate action. It brought down his helicopter on December 8, 2021, killing the vile, abominable, treacherous Rajput General Bipin Rawat, who had hatched so many wild schemes to mass murder millions of minorities in an attempt to fulfill Modi's agenda of making India an exclusively Hindu nation, and then along with his wife and 11 others. The lone survivor has also succumbed to his injuries, so that all 14 on board the helicopter are now dead. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people do not have the time to go through the full length of videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide the capability to make the text of my videos available on YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that capability. So I make the text of my videos available on my Facebook channel, which you can then easily copy.